lots of talks about your health. This is your platform right here to speak a little bit upon it. A lot of people are saying, this is fake, this is real. Um, I know this is a sensitive topic for you right about this time, but could you clarify anything on the platform?
Well, no, it's not fake, and it's not fake for many women, and that's what I've learned. Um, and I decided to go public with my journey on my own Instagram because my followers were asking me a lot of questions, and I decided, what I learned was that breast cancer is not just genetic. Hey, Egypt, maybe when can you mute your phone, Egypt?
Oh yeah, can you guys mute?
Yeah,
We
because we
have
hear the
Showbiz here as
background.
well.
Yeah, we're hearing the background, right?
Yeah, now
Okay.
that they've muted, they muted.
Okay. So so I learned that it's not genetic. It could be environmental. It could be a lot of things. And I always was taught like, oh, it's genetic. So when I first felt a lump in my breast, I thought it was just a cyst and nothing serious. And but then when it wasn't away after a year or so, I said, okay, I got to go. So when I went in, I was really surprised for them to tell me I had breast cancer, because no one in my family has ever had breast cancer. I mean, no one, not on both sides. And um, so I decided I want other women to know that when you're 40 years old and you hear them do mammogram, go to mammogram, catch it early. And I just want to encourage women that when they're 40 to start to get their mammograms. It is very true. I don't know what stage I'm in yet. I'm going to have my first operation in mid-August, and so I'm preparing myself for that. We're going to try to remove the tumor. It has spread to my lymph nodes. So, based on what I'm reading, not what my doctors are telling me, that usually means stage three. So, but it doesn't seem like mine is aggressive according to like my other tests, like my body scans didn't show disease in any other area. They didn't even come up in the lymph nodes, and they were very surprised by that. They thought they would see the disease on the body scan in the lymph node, but they only saw it in on the tumor in my breast. So I'm just getting ready for that process. I mean, I just thank God so much because when I was a little girl, whenever I'd hear the word cancer, I used to get so much anxiety over it. I just didn't like to hear the word at all, right? I was very afraid of it. And here I have cancer, and for some reason I don't have that fear, I don't have the anxiety about it. Just God is giving me a peace. And what I really am frustrated about is the process because I just never was a person that liked to go to the doctor, didn't like to take medication, I just never did, and now here I am having to go through that process, and I think that's probably gonna be the most difficult thing is having to go to the hospital all the time, and then going through this for the next 5 years. So,
Well, Miss Garcia, I'm sorry to hear all of that, and I hope everything goes well with your health moving forward.
thank
Um,
you.
Obviously, we're here wanting to talk about your son. Um, a lot going on. And what's most frightening is some of the things that he's saying, and as people on the outside, we kind of figure out who's around Ryan at this moment in time. Why is his parents not by his side?
Well, when you are facing, private matters, you know, you're not gonna go out and publicly start to give the world the details of what's going on. And so I didn't feel like I had to get on and broadcast to the world every step that I was making, um, to, you know, deal with our family issue and our family problems. And um, I just did everything in the background. And it's just so much to explain to the world. And it's not really, to be honest with you, I just don't think the world has enough compassion and empathy for the situation we're going in. So in the Bible, it says, "Why throw your pearl to swine? They're just gonna get it and trample all over you. So why should I talk about it? Everyone's gonna have their opinion. Everyone's gonna try to be the psychologist, and or everyone's just gonna be mean. And so why would I do that to myself, to my family? We're already struggling enough with a storm, with two things getting hit at us at one time. So,
You you know um we've been talking about Ryan's mental health. There's a lot of people in the black community that believe that you know racism and mental health are separate. Now, listen, Egypt, you can come and you can add as much as you want into this, but what would you have to say upon the racism pieces of some of the things that Ryan has saying, and people saying that stems from how you grow up?
oh, no.
Well,
But
can I speak on this one
yeah,
if
go
you don't
ahead,
mind,
Egypt.
Miss Garcia?
Hmm.
I'll spare you just for a second.
Okay.
Obviously, you guys see I have the complexion, so um, it, I I didn't feel anything except for more concern for Ryan personally as a brother because um, I know from experience that I've never felt any hate coming from him for any reason at any time. And a lot of times, when you get around certain people, maybe they may play some kind of influential role. I'm not in the excuses business, but what I can say is, I'll go back to our president. I was told for a long time, President Trump is racist, 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 and they spin this machine online that he is racist, and then I'm around him, and I know from personal experience this is not the case. The same thing goes for Ryan and his family. I literally just got back from a great trip where Mrs. Garcia was fighting for the mental health of all fighters, of all athletes, of all families, and all backgrounds because they need a voice there. So, did we anticipate, this chaos kind of happening? No, but um, I'm not going to say that it's not a mental health condition when someone may not be aware of the statements that they're making. And I am very much aware too that there are consequences, good or bad, when you speak a certain way. As a young man, I had to learn that there are consequences for all my actions. I'm not going to speak for others, but I was guilty in the past of saying certain things that could be inflammatory or could be harmful, and you learn and you get to a certain place of maturity where you learn that you must be careful with that word perception. It's not what you think, it's about the things that you say and how others are also receiving the message. So honestly, right now the one thing I can say is, as far as the message is concerned, it may get lost in what Ryan may, and I'm not speaking for him at all because he can speak just fine for himself in the future. But when he does have an overall positive message, he's going to learn on his own as he's growing to not allow other things to distract from the message that he's looking to put out there. And that when, yes, he's young, yes, he's still growing, but he made it very clear that he does struggle with mental health at times. And let's also bring up the elephant in the room in the fact that the Athletic Commission of New York pushed him to get into this fight, even though he was showing concerns. See, our narrative have switched at least 5 or 6 times, 7 times, 8 times, however many times. But the bottom line is there was concern from us and from those around him before he ever stepped in the room or stepped in the ring. I'm sorry, and fought against a very honorable champion, Devin Haney. And one thing I want to make clear is that it's so easy for these organizations to make the revenue off of us. it's so easy for them, to get the benefit financially from what our skills, our talents are, even though we have these gaps. And yet, where was the concern when they saw that, he was already demonstrating troubling behavior as far as to those that knew him. So he did say that he was having issues with certain personal issues around him. I'm not at liberty, and nor am I the person to speak on that. But he made it very clear, even after the fact, after the fight, I have an issue with the zone, the commentator saying, "Oh, he wasn't crazy after all. He wasn't crazy." I mean, what were they talking about? He was having issues with substance abuse, and certain things were going on in his life, and he still hasn't been able to really address it. It's just been a wildfire. It's been a circus of activities. It's a lot for someone at his age to handle. And I think we need to go back to the root cause. And I'm not saying that the athletic commission is responsible for the comments he's making. What I'm saying, they're responsible for any athlete that they push or nudge or even pressure to perform when it's clearly not the best time for them on a health perspective. And I'm going to go ahead and pass the torch over to Mrs. Garcia, so I'm not over speaking the situation.
Mm-hmm. No, there's a lot of layers here, and it's very complex. And I just, I just don't see the purpose in getting that complex and explaining everything that has happened. But just to kind of explain that Ryan, when he was going through it, everyone saw him at the press conference, and he told the world that he was using substances, right? So, and if you don't know this now, but yes, there's some people that do it recreationally, and then there's some people that use substances to self-medicate underlying conditions, depression, anxiety, panic attacks, and they could get in trouble with that. And so I don't think that Ryan is shying away from the idea that, he is in a lot of pain, and he's struggling with that pain, and it's no excuse. But when because he chose to self-medicate, I don't think it's making it easier for him. I don't think it's helping him. I would love for Ryan to, come to the place where he can decide that I think it's going to be okay for me to talk about this pain, whatever it is, trauma. We don't know. Ryan hasn't been diagnosed, you know. Um, I just know that his last mental health crisis that he was very open about, they did diagnose him with depression. So a lot of times when people are depressed, they don't want to take medication, so they'll do other things. Ryan didn't do that the last time he got depressed, and I think this time he just had overwhelming triggers in his life, both in his personal and career life. And I think that, I think it's a cry out for help myself, but I do think that um some of the stuff that was said, I can't stand that Twitter space at all. I think there's people there that are purposely put there to antagonize and take advantage of the vulnerability, sometime knowing that Ryan could be intoxicated. And sometimes they know he's intoxicated, and they're trying to heckle him to react. And I know in my heart my son is not a racist. Um, he's Christian, and he still opens his heart to listen to his Muslim friends about their religion, and can have very great conversations with people of other faiths. And he really just does have a whole lot of love in his heart. I think he's just really angry. And this is just his way of dealing with it. And so I just support him, because supporting doesn't mean condoning. Condoning For those of that, I'm not condoning. I mean, I'm not saying that it's okay or making any excuses, but this is real. This is just life. It happens to people. It just so happens that my son is famous. He has a huge social following. So he's living in a glass house for everybody to see. And that's what makes it that much harder for me and my other children and our family, is that everybody's watching, and it comes with the territory, I know. But people in this world, I look at some of the comments, and, you know, I
Don't look
think
at them.
that, yeah, we all have to grow as human beings, and all I
Before
have to
Ryan,
say, yeah,
be- before Ryan was
Jesus said one important thing before he left. And they asked him about the greatest commandment of all. And what did he say? Love one another. And you know, and sometimes I don't think we're doing that in this world.
before Ryan became this famous star. I mean, as far as him, him growing up under your house, as far as him taking accountability for some of the things that he does that are wrong. How does Ryan take accountability for things? Because these are strong words upon George Floyd. We're hearing that George Floyd, he hangs out with his brother. Ryan hangs out with his brother, and he's saying these comments. That's steep stuff.
It was wrong.
What would you, as far as a mom, and I know you're going through a lot, and I know that I've heard Ryan on Twitter Spaces saying that you guys don't condone this behavior, and that he feels that he's letting you guys down. But what's your reactions to this?
My reaction is, Ryan needs to. If Ryan can't stop using or drinking alcohol, then Ryan needs to make the decision, because to say, okay, this has gotten me in some deep stuff. I know I didn't mean it that way. Maybe, when people are drunk, they say a lot of things, and I'm not saying that's an excuse, but they do. And I know that, you know, when I talked to him, I did talk to him. I said, I know in your mind you think that that's what you were saying or what you meant, but it just came off totally wrong. And you have to understand, it could have been a longer conversation, but people can just clip out the one thing you said and not hear the other part. So I don't know what the other parts are, because I haven't really listened to the discussion in its entirety yet. But I told them that you really have to be more mindful about what you say, and what he said about George Floyd. I hope when Ryan gets well and he's able to really come out of this, that, and that's what I'm praying for, that Ryan get the help that he needs. I know there's people around him in his circle right now that it's not within my power to say, okay, you need to leave now. You're not helping. And even though they think they are, but they're not, because every effort we've made has been thwarted, because they think they know best and undermine the efforts of his family and his parents, and um,
Who's they?
some of the people that are around, a couple of his staff, and
Are they
even
not
our,
letting you around Ryan?
uh, they just, I think they think that they're protecting Ryan from what? From getting, because we want rehabilitation for him, because we want to encourage him to get rehabilitation. Um, because when Ryan was out of control, you know, we tried to get him help. And, when I'm talking about the arrest and that series of things that happened that week, um, it's like the whole world sees it and they're not seeing it. Because if they were really seeing it, why are you partying with my son? That's my question to them. Why are you partying with someone that you know cannot be doing those things right now? It's obvious by his behavior and his reaction when he's using those substances that he should not be doing them. And if he can't help himself, then he needs rehab, right?
He checked in recently. Was that willing in like in his own willing?